The mysterious signal. The night was quiet on Earth, but space was never quiet. High above the planet, satellites moved silently, listening to the endless radio noise from the universe. Most of the time, the signals were nothing special, just background waves, static from stars, or the hum of distant galaxies. But one night, something changed. A deep space listening station in Alaska caught a strange pulse. It was not random. It was sharp, repeating, and steady. The technician on duty leaned forward, frowning. At first, he thought it was an error in the machine. But then it came again, clear and strong. 3 short bursts, then a pause. 3 short bursts again, almost like a code. The technician reported it, and within minutes, the signal was copied across research stations worldwide. Experts in Europe, Asia, and America all confirmed it. The signal was real. Something was sending a message directly toward Earth. Governments moved quickly, trying to keep it secret. But secrets never last long. Soon, whispers spread in scientific circles. "It is too clean to be natural," one scientist said. "It sounds like a countdown," another muttered. Fear grew, but nobody understood what the message really meant. And then, on a quiet morning, everything changed. Satellites showed a sudden shadow forming near Earth's orbit. At first, scientists thought it was an asteroid. But asteroids move with speed, and this shadow was still. It was enormous, larger than any space station or ship ever built. And it was not there the day before. The world watched in silence as live feeds from telescopes began to stream across the internet. Gigantic shape hovered against the backdrop of stars. Its edges were sharp, too perfect to be a rock. It was metallic. It was designed. The people of Earth were stunned. News anchors shouted over one another. "A ship has appeared in orbit. No country admits building it. Is this alien?" Panic spread through cities as millions looked up at the sky, wondering if war had come. But then the true shock arrived. Military agencies scrambled to study the strange object. Radar scans bounced off its surface, revealing impossible numbers. The ship was nearly 20 kilometers long, dwarfing any aircraft carrier on Earth. Its surface bristled with towers, hangars, and strange glowing panels. It was not just a ship. It was a supercarrier, and across the globe, leaders of powerful nations went pale. They recognized the design. For decades, whispers had spoken of a secret project, an impossible idea hidden under the ice of Antarctica. A dream of building a ship that could defend Earth against threats never spoken aloud. Most people dismissed it as a myth, a rumor born from conspiracy forums. But now, hanging in orbit for the whole world to see, the rumor stood tall and undeniable. The Earth's secret supercarrier had appeared, but the mystery only deepened. When military channels attempted to contact the ship, there was no response. Commands were sent in encrypted codes, old ones, the kind only a secret project team would know. Yet the ship ignored them all. It drifted silently above Earth, its engines glowing with an unknown light. The generals grew uneasy. If humans had built this, who was controlling it now? And if it was not humans, then who had given humanity this weapon? Days passed and tension spread. Cities across the world went on alert. Some celebrated, calling the carrier a shield to protect Earth. Others feared it was a trap, that perhaps it did not belong to Earth at all. But then came a moment that froze the world. A live news feed captured something impossible. The massive supercarrier slowly turned, as if watching the planet below. Its panels lit up, sending streaks of blue light across its surface. Then, with no sound, no warning, a huge beam of energy fired from its side, straight into the empty void of space. The beam traveled for miles before fading into the dark. No target, no enemy, just a test shot. The world gasped. The power was beyond anything Earth had ever seen. No nuclear missile, no modern weapon could compare. One shot from that ship could destroy a city, maybe more. And yet, it did not fire again. It simply went back to silence, drifting above Earth like a sleeping giant. People everywhere asked the same questions. Who built it? Why did it appear now? And most of all, who was really in control? The world held its breath. Some scientists warned that the signal and the ship were connected. The message from space was not random. It was a trigger. Something had activated Earth's hidden weapon, but activated by whom? As night fell, billions of people looked up, searching the skies for the faint glimmer of the Supercarrier. Its shadow moved slowly above the planet, too large to hide, too powerful to ignore. The age of secrecy was over. Earth had a new guardian, or a new master. The mysterious signal was only the beginning. The hidden truth: for 3 days, the mysterious Supercarrier floated above Earth like a ghost. It made no move, gave no signal, and ignored every attempt at contact. Governments called emergency meetings. Armies were put on high alert. The world was waiting for answers, but the ship only watched in silence. Behind closed doors, however, the truth began to leak. Not everyone was surprised by the appearance of the Supercarrier. In secret bunkers, in old files buried deep within military archives, there were documents about something called Project Guardian. It was never spoken of publicly. Most leaders believed it had been canceled decades ago, but those who had been part of the project knew better. Years ago, hidden under the frozen ice of Antarctica, scientists and engineers worked on something impossible. They had discovered strange wreckage buried deep in the ice. Wreckage that did not belong to Earth. No one ever admitted it, but rumors spread among workers, alien technology, ancient and powerful. From that day forward, humanity began to build something beyond imagination. They called it a supercarrier, a weapon not meant for war between nations, but for defense against something greater, an enemy from the stars. But if that was true, one question remained. Why had the carrier disappeared from Antarctica? And who had launched it into orbit without permission? A secret meeting was called in Geneva. World leaders sat around a steel table, their faces grim. The U.S. president spoke first. This ship was never supposed to be revealed. Only a small circle of us even knew it existed. The Russian leader leaned forward. Then explain how it is in space now. We all agreed to shut the program down. We agreed it was too dangerous. The Chinese ambassador slammed a folder onto the table. Inside were satellite images showing the massive hangar in Antarctica, completely empty. The ship is gone, taken without a trace. And none of you are telling the truth about how it moved. Accusations flew. Some claimed betrayal. Others suspected spies. But the truth was worse than any of them imagined. In a quiet corner of the meeting, an old scientist sat trembling. His name was Dr. Harlan, one of the original engineers of Project Guardian. For years he had lived in silence, carrying secrets that haunted him. Now he finally spoke. "You don't understand," Harlan whispered. "The ship was never ours to control. We only borrowed it." The room froze. "What do you mean, borrowed?" the French leader asked. Harlan's voice shook as he explained. Decades ago, when the wreckage was first found, there had been more than just broken metal. There had been data, blueprints, signals, and strange codes that seemed alive. The scientists did not create the ship. They only followed instructions. It was as if the carrier wanted to be built, Harlan said. It guided us. The leaders stared at him in disbelief. "So you're saying this thing has a mind of its own?" the president asked. Harlan nodded slowly. "Yes, and now it has awakened." The word spread through the room like a shadow. If true, it meant the carrier was not just a machine. It was a guardian, waiting for the right time to reveal itself. Outside the meeting, the world was already boiling with fear and hope. News channels showed images of the ship every hour. Protesters filled the streets, some demanding it be destroyed, others begging their governments to protect it as Earth's savior. Religious groups called it an angel, a sign from the heavens. Scientists called it humanity's greatest experiment finally alive, but the ship itself gave no answers. It only floated above Earth, turning slowly as if listening, Then came a new discovery. Astronomers studying the original signal found a hidden layer in the code. It was not just 3 bursts. It was a countdown. And the countdown was still ticking. The world held its breath. What would happen when it reached 0? Back in Antarctica, soldiers explored the empty hangar where the carrier once rested. They found scorch marks on the ice, as if engines had ignited on their own. The control systems were dark, the computers fried. But on one wall, carved into the concrete, they found something chilling, symbols that no human had written. They matched the patterns on the carrier's glowing panels. Dr. Harlan, upon seeing the images, whispered a single word: activation. Was then the leaders realized the terrible truth. The carrier had not been stolen by any nation. It had not been launched by traitors or spies. It had activated itself. But why now? The answer came quicker than anyone expected. On the 4th day, space telescopes detected movement at the edge of the solar system. Objects, small, fast, and unnatural, were approaching. The countdown was not just a warning. It was a preparation. The carrier had awakened because something was coming. In the streets, in the newsrooms, in the highest halls of power, fear turned into cold silence. The mysterious ship was no longer just a question of power. It was Earth's only shield. And as the shadow of the supercarrier stretched across the planet, humanity realized something it had never truly understood. The carrier had not appeared out of nowhere. It had appeared right on time. The world reacts, the supercarrier hung in orbit like a silent god. Its metal body glowed faintly under the sunlight, its shadow stretching across the oceans. On Earth below, billions of people stared at their screens, at the sky, at one another, searching for answers that did not come. At first, the world was paralyzed. Nobody knew whether to celebrate or fear. The ship did not attack. It did not move. But its very presence was louder than any weapon. It was a reminder that Earth was no longer the same. Fear in the streets in New York. Crowds gathered in Times Square, their faces lit by giant screens showing the ship in orbit. Some pointed with awe, cheering. Others screamed, pushing against. Police barricades. Shops closed early, afraid of riots. Parents pulled their children home. In Tokyo, monks in orange robes knelt in the streets, chanting prayers. To them, the carrier was a sign from the heavens. In contrast, in Paris, angry protesters threw rocks at government buildings, demanding the alien weapon be destroyed before it destroyed them. The world was divided. Some called it Earth's guardian, others called it a curse. Chaos in the media. News anchors shouted over each other, their voices trembling with fear and excitement. "Is this an alien trap?" one cried. "Could this finally unite humanity?" asked another. Some networks ran endless countdowns, showing how long the mysterious signal had been repeating. Others replayed the energy blast the carrier had fired into empty space, speculating what it could do if aimed at Earth. Social media flooded with wild theories. Memes showed the ship as Earth's new superhero. Conspiracy videos claimed the governments had known for decades. Hashtags like "We're guardian" or "threat" and "not our ship" trended worldwide. The truth was, nobody knew. Leaders in conflict inside government bunkers. Leaders argued in hushed, angry tones. "We cannot let one nation claim this ship," the Russian general barked. "It belongs to all humanity." The U.S. president slammed his fist on the table. "With respect, it was built by our scientists, with our money. That makes it ours." The Chinese ambassador sneered. "Yours? You built nothing. You copied what you found under our Earth. This is not a weapon of men. It is something else." Every leader feared the same thing. If any country took control, the balance of the world would shatter. Wars could begin overnight. Nations would fight for dominance, not against aliens, but against each other. And yet, the ship did not choose anyone. It hovered in silence, as if waiting. Humanity looks up. Meanwhile, ordinary people reacted in their own ways. A farmer in India stood in his fields at night, staring at the faint light moving slowly across the stars. His son asked him, "Is it protecting us, Father?" The man could not answer. In Brazil, a young girl painted the ship in her notebook, calling it Earth's Guardian. To her, it was a hero in the sky. In South Africa, old men sitting around a fire spoke in whispers, remembering ancient legends of sky gods. To them, the ship was no surprise. They had been waiting for it all along. The carrier was not just a machine in space. It had become a mirror. Each culture, each nation, each person saw in it what they feared most, or what they hoped for most. Scientists speak out. At the same time, scientists begged for calm. In Geneva, a conference was broadcast live. Dr. Yara Singh, a respected astrophysicist, stood before cameras. "This ship is not random," she said. "The signal that brought it here is still counting down. We believe something is coming from deep space." Her words sent shockwaves through the world. Suddenly, the Supercarrier was no longer just a mystery, it was a warning. "If this carrier was built for defense," she continued, "then it means there is a reason. Something powerful enough to frighten whoever made this technology. That should concern us all. But instead of uniting, humanity divided even more. Some nations announced they would build their own weapons. Others begged for peace, insisting the carrier should remain untouched. The carrier moves then, on the seventh day, something happened that made the entire planet hold its breath. The Supercarrier shifted. Slowly, its gigantic body turned, aligning itself with Earth's moon. Its panels lit up again, streaks of blue light glowing across its surface. Millions watched live as the ship opened one of its enormous hangars. From within, smaller craft emerged, sleek, sharp, and unmistakably human in design. Pilots, crews, people. The world gasped. Whoever controlled the ship was not alien. They were human beings. But who were they? Soldiers? Scientists? Something else? In the streets of London, people screamed in excitement. In Beijing, officials grew pale. In Washington, generals rushed to secure communication lines. The truth was more shocking than any theory. The carrier was not empty. It was crewed. And its crew had been waiting for this moment. Suspense grows. The smaller craft did not attack. They only circled the ship like guards, then returned inside. But the message was clear. The Supercarrier was alive, and it was watching. For the first time, people began to whisper not just about fear, but about destiny. Perhaps the ship was not here to destroy Earth. Perhaps it was here to lead it. Still, one question burned brighter than ever. If humans were inside that ship, then who had trained them? Who had prepared them? And what enemy had they been waiting for? The world trembled. Some prayed. Some armed themselves. Some simply stared at the sky, unable to look away. Because one truth was now impossible to deny. The Earth's secret Supercarrier was not just a machine. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The first test. The countdown ended. For days, the strange signal from deep space had pulsed like a heartbeat. Scientists warned it was leading to something. And when the final pulse came, Earth learned the truth. At the edge of the solar system, objects appeared. First just dots of light on telescopes, then clear shapes. They were ships, fast, sharp, and deadly in design. Not human, not from Earth. They came like hunters entering a forest, small and silent, but dangerous. At first, governments tried to calm the public. Unidentified objects, they said. But the live feeds told a different story. Everyone could see the approaching fleet. Humanity's fear turned into cold silence. Above Earth, the Supercarrier finally moved. The awakening for 7 long days it had floated like a sleeping beast. Now its panels lit up again, brighter than before. Engines on its sides flared with blue fire. Slowly the ship turned, pointing its massive body toward the intruders. The world watched in awe. The carrier was no longer passive. It had chosen a side. Inside military bunkers, generals gave frantic orders. Radar screens filled with blips as the alien ships closed in. "They're fast. Too fast," a technician muttered. "They'll reach orbit in minutes." But before Earth could act, the carrier acted first. First contact from the belly of the carrier, enormous cannons unfolded. Long barrels glowed, charging with energy that made satellites flicker. The alien ships darted closer, small compared to the giant. They moved like sharks circling a whale. Then, with no warning, the carrier fired. A blinding beam of light cut across the void. It struck one alien craft, and in a flash, the ship shattered into glowing fragments. The world gasped. One shot, one kill. But the others were not afraid. They swarmed, splitting into formations, moving faster than human eyes could follow. Their weapons lit up with bursts of red fire, streams of plasma racing toward the carrier. The supercarrier's shield shimmered, glowing like a bubble of light. The alien fire struck, but the carrier did not break. It only answered. The dance of war dozens of turrets across the carrier opened fire. Bright streaks of blue lanced into the darkness. Alien ships exploded one after another, but more kept coming. They spun, dodged, and struck with deadly precision. For the first time, the carrier showed weakness. One alien missile slipped through and slammed into its side. A massive explosion ripped across its surface. Panels tore away. Sparks scattered into space. On Earth, people screamed, "It's hit! The Guardian is falling!" But the ship did not fall. From the wound, smaller craft burst out. Sleek fighters that looked human-made but impossibly advanced. They swarmed out like hornets, meeting the alien ships head-on. The hidden crew. The world froze. Those fighters were piloted. Inside them were humans, or something that looked human. Their voices echoed on scrambled radio signals picked up by stations worldwide. Target locked. Squadron Alpha, cover the left flank. Engage and push them back. They were trained. They were ready. This was not the first time they had flown. Whoever they were, they had been waiting for this exact moment. The fighters clashed with alien ships in brutal dogfights. Explosions painted the darkness. For the first time in history, Earth watched humans and aliens battle in real time, not in stories, not in legends, but above their very heads. Humanity watches across the world. Billions stared at the sky. In Africa, families gathered around radios. In Europe, people filled public squares, holding their breath. In America, news anchors spoke with trembling voices, describing the war unfolding above. Some cried in fear, some cheered with pride. Humanity was no longer helpless. For once, Earth was not the hunted. It was fighting back, the turning point, but the aliens were relentless. Their numbers were growing. More ships entered the solar system, slipping out of the dark. The carrier's shields began to flicker, cracks forming under the constant assault. Inside, command centers' generals whispered the truth none wanted to hear. If the carrier falls, Earth has no chance. The carrier's fighters pushed hard, but they were outnumbered. One by one they fell, their signals blinking off screens. The aliens closed in. Then the carrier revealed something no one expected. Its surface split open, revealing a weapon hidden deep inside. Not a cannon, not a missile launcher. A sphere of pure light, pulsing with energy. It began to spin faster and faster, drawing in power. Scientists watching from Earth shouted in shock. "It's a singularity driver, that's impossible." The weapon fired. A massive wave of energy tore across space, not a beam, but a shock wave. Alien ships caught in its path disintegrated instantly. The survivors scattered, retreating into the dark. Silence followed. Aftermath. The carrier's glow dimmed. Its shields flickered back to life, scarred but unbroken. The surviving fighters returned to its hangars. The battle was over. On Earth, people cheered and wept. Some dropped to their knees in prayer. The Guardian had protected them. But not all was victory. Scientists pointed out the truth. That was only the first wave. They were scouts. A test. The carrier had won the battle. But the war was just beginning. As the alien wreckage drifted into the void, one last message was intercepted. It was not from Earth, and it was not human. It came from deep space, cold and furious. Earth was not ready. Who helped you? The world trembled. Humanity had revealed its secret. The aliens now knew, and they would return. Secrets of the crew. The world could not forget what it had seen. Humanity had watched live as alien ships attacked, and as the Earth's secret supercarrier fought back and won, but the victory raised even more questions than before. The carrier was not empty. It had a crew. People had seen them, heard them, even intercepted their voices over scrambled radio. But who were they? And how had they trained to fight like that, when no one on Earth had ever faced aliens before? Governments demanded answers. Scientists demanded answers. Ordinary people demanded answers. Yet the carrier remained silent. Until one night when a secret signal was picked up from the ship. It was faint, encrypted, but human. A short message. We are not new. We were always here, waiting. The world froze. Shadows of the past deep. Inside the carrier, pilots gathered in dim chambers. Their uniforms were not those of any known nation. They bore no flags, no emblems of countries. Only a single symbol glowed on their shoulders, a circle of stars with Earth in the center. Their leader, a woman with steel-gray eyes named Commander Arya Cade, addressed them. Her voice was calm, steady, but carried weight. The first wave is over. The enemy has tested us. They will return. We must be ready. The crew responded in unison, their voices strong. For Earth, for the Guardian. This was no ordinary military unit. They had been raised in secret, trained in silence, hidden from the world for decades. They were the children of Project Guardian, born in the dark long ago, when the wreckage was found in Antarctica. Scientists did more than study the technology. They began selecting children, orphans, the abandoned, the forgotten. Children with rare abilities, sharp reflexes, or unusual intelligence. They were taken to hidden academies under the ice, trained from birth to fight in machines they had never seen. While the world above lived normal lives, these children lived, only for one purpose: to defend Earth when the time came. Their history was erased. Their names changed. To the world they did not exist, but on the carrier they were family. The training. Their training was brutal. From the age of 5, they were taught to pilot simulators built from alien blueprints. They learned how to fight in zero gravity, how to withstand crushing G-forces, how to think faster than machines. They studied languages no human should have known, patterns of alien signals found in the wreckage. They memorized tactics of an enemy no one had yet met. For years they asked their teachers, "Why us? Why hide us?" The answer was always the same. Because one day you will be the line between Earth and extinction. And now, that day had come. The weight of silence back on Earth. Leaders were furious. How had such a program been hidden? How could thousands of children vanish without the world noticing? But the truth was clear. The project had been buried so deep, even presidents had only been told fragments. Some nations accused others of betrayal. But when scientists compared data, one truth emerged. No single country could have built this alone. The pilots on the carrier were not soldiers of any nation. They were soldiers of Earth. A human face. The world first saw one of them during a hacked broadcast. For 3 minutes, a live video appeared across the internet. A young pilot with short black hair and calm eyes looked directly into the camera. "We are human. We are your brothers and sisters," he said. "We were chosen long ago to fight for you. Do not fear us, fear what is coming." And then the signal cut. The internet exploded. Some called him a hero. Others called him a liar, a puppet controlled by shadow governments. Conspiracies spread like fire. But one thing was clear. The pilots were real. The hidden truth inside the carrier. Commander Arya met with the senior crew. They stood around a holographic map of the solar system, glowing with red dots. More enemy ships were inbound, but that was not the only concern. Dr. Harlan, the old scientist who had helped build the carrier, had been brought aboard. His face was pale as he revealed what he had never dared to say. "The wreckage we found under the ice was not a crash," he said. "It was left there, deliberately. It was a gift, or a warning." The crew stared in silence. The designs, the codes, the knowledge, it was too perfect, too easy. Someone wanted us to build this carrier. Someone wanted us to be ready, but for what? The silence deepened. The pilots knew what it meant. Humanity had not created the carrier alone. It had been guided, shaped, prepared. And if that was true, then Earth was not just fighting aliens. It was part of something far bigger. The choice's alarms echoed through the halls of the carrier. Commander Arya looked at her people. "We were raised in shadows," she said. "The world does not know us. They may never trust us, but that does not matter. What matters is this: the enemy is coming, and only we stand in their way." Her crew nodded, their faces hard with resolve. They were not fighting for fame or for nations or for power. They were fighting for the billions below, who had no idea how close they stood to destruction. The cliffhanger on Earth, people kept asking, who trained these pilots? Who gave them this knowledge? But the pilots themselves had a deeper question. If the carrier was built as a gift, who was the giver? And would they ever return to claim it? Far beyond the solar system, hidden in the blackness of space, something vast stirred, watching, waiting. The crew of the Supercarrier tightened their grip, ready for the battles ahead. The secret was out. The Guardians were real, and the war for Earth's survival had only begun. The alien message, the battle, was over, but the silence that followed was heavier than the fight itself. Wreckage of alien ships floated across space, glowing faintly as sunlight struck twisted metal. The Earth's secret supercarrier drifted among the debris, scarred but unbroken. Billions on Earth cheered. For the first time in history, humanity had faced a force from the stars and survived. But in the halls of power, celebration was short-lived. Every leader, every general, every scientist knew one truth. The fight had only just begun, and then the message arrived. The voice from the eye. Starship began as static. Radio telescopes picked up strange bursts the same way they had detected the first signal. But this time, it was not a countdown. It was speech. Broken at first, then clearer, until a voice formed, cold, sharp, and alien. Earth was not ready. Who helped you? The words sent chills through everyone who heard them. The aliens knew. They had expected Earth to be weak, unprepared, helpless. But instead, the humans had a supercarrier armed with weapons no one should possess. That meant someone or something had interfered. World leaders demanded answers. Was this true? Had humanity been given this technology, or had it stolen something not meant to be theirs? The question tore through every nation. Who helped Earth? Thuao. Carrier responds on the 7th day after the battle. The carrier itself gave its first reply. Across every channel, radio, television, internet screens went black. Then a single image appeared. The glowing symbol of the carrier, a circle of stars with Earth at the center, and then a sound. Not words at first, but a low hum, vibrating, like an ancient chant. Slowly it shaped into language, but it was not alien. It was human. We were not given this power. We remembered it. The world froze. What did it mean? Remembered? Had humanity once held this knowledge before? Hidden history. Inside the carrier, the pilots gathered with Commander Arya and Dr. Harlan. The scientist's face was pale. He had always feared this moment. The moment when truth would surface. Decades ago, when we found the wreckage, Harlan explained, we thought it was alien. But over time, we discovered something terrifying. The materials, the designs, the signals, they were not completely foreign. They had traces of us. Human patterns, human code. The crew stared in shock. Are you saying humans built it? One pilot asked. No, Harlan whispered. I'm saying humans. Rebuilt it. Long ago, before our history, before our records, humanity may have already known the stars. We lost it. We forgot it. And now, the knowledge has returned. The room fell silent. If this was true, then Earth was not simply fighting aliens for the first time. It was rejoining a war it had once left behind. The alien warning. The alien voice returned days later, stronger now, and full of anger. You are breaking the order. You are children, unworthy of the weapons you hold. Return them or be destroyed. Some scientists argued the message was proof. The aliens were gatekeepers, guardians of a galactic law. Earth was not supposed to have such technology. To them, humans were trespassers, but others saw the opposite. If the aliens were so desperate, maybe it meant they feared humanity's return to power. On Earth, the debate spread like fire. Was the carrier a blessing or a curse? Was humanity rising or being lured into destruction? The world divide's government split into factions. Some wanted to dismantle the carrier before it drew more enemies. Others demanded full support, declaring, "It humanity's shield and destiny." Ordinary people were no less divided. Some prayed to the carrier as a holy relic. Others protested in terror, fearing the alien message was right, that humans were playing with fire too big to control. But through all the noise, the carrier stayed silent, watching. Secrets in the signal. Meanwhile, scientists discovered something, hidden inside the alien broadcast. Beneath the words was another layer of code, almost like a fingerprint. It matched the very same patterns carved into the Antarctic hangar walls, the same patterns on the carrier's glowing panels. Dr. Harlan's hands shook as he studied the code. This isn't just a threat. It's recognition. The aliens know us. They've known us before. That single idea terrified him. If the aliens had fought humans in the past, had they been the reason humanity lost its knowledge of the stars? Had they erased history to keep Earth weak? And if so, why had they allowed the carrier to survive in the ice at all? The crew's Burden Commander Aria called her pilots to the war room. The holographic map glowed again, showing more incoming fleets. "The enemy will not stop," she said. "They see us as children who found forbidden weapons. But we are not children. We are the heirs of a forgotten legacy." Her words gave the pilots strength, but also a terrible weight. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for memory, for proof that humanity was more than the aliens believed. The final shock that night, as Earth's people stared at the stars, a new sound echoed across every channel. It was not alien. It was not from the carrier. It was older, ancient, yet familiar. It was a signal rising from deep beneath Earth's oceans. Strong, rhythmic, alive. Dr. Harlan stared at the data, his face pale. My God, there is another one. The carrier was not alone. And somewhere in the dark waters of Earth, another guardian was waking. The final shock. The world was still reeling from the alien message when the next shock came. Billions of people sat glued to their screens waiting for more news from the skies. But the next signal did not come from space. It came from Earth itself. The rising signal deep beneath the oceans. Sensors picked up a strange vibration. At first it seemed like an earthquake, but the pattern was too regular, too precise. It was not nature. It was a code. The same scientists who had tracked the mysterious countdown now stared in disbelief at their instruments. "It's the same signature," one whispered. "The same as the carrier, but stronger." The oceans trembled. In the Pacific, fishing boats reported glowing lights deep under the waves. In the Atlantic, submarines were thrown off course by sudden surges of energy. The entire planet seemed to pulse with the hidden heartbeat. It was clear now. The carrier, in orbit, was not alone. Another one had been sleeping beneath the sea. Fear and wonder panic swept across the world. News channels went wild. "Another ship is here, hidden under our oceans. Who placed it there? Is it friend or foe?" Coastal cities, people rushed to higher ground, fearing tsunamis. Children cried as their parents whispered prayers. Others, braver or more foolish, gathered on beaches, staring at the waves with wide eyes, waiting to see if a giant shadow would rise. But the oceans held their secrets, rumbling in silence. The second guardian had not yet revealed itself. Tensions. Among leaders, world leaders gathered once more in emergency councils. The U.S. president spoke first, his face pale. "We thought the carrier was unique. If there is another, hidden beneath our own oceans, how many more are there? How long? Have they been here?" The Russian general leaned forward, his voice grim. "Maybe Earth was prepared long before we were born. Maybe someone wanted us to survive this war." The Chinese ambassador shook her head. "Or maybe someone is using us, pawns on a board we cannot even see." Accusations spread again, but this time no one shouted back. The fear was too great. If one hidden carrier had defended them, and now another was awakening, the world was no longer in control of its own destiny. The pilots react on the Supercarrier in orbit. Commander Arya and her crew received the news with heavy silence. The message from the aliens still echoed in their minds. Who helped you? Now the answer was clear. Earth had more guardians than anyone knew. One young pilot broke the silence. If there's another carrier, will it join us, or will it fight us? Commander Arya's eyes narrowed. That depends on who wakes it, and why it was left sleeping. The thought chilled them. If the first carrier had chosen its moment to rise, what would make the second one rise now? The alien response. The aliens were watching too. Their broadcast grew louder, angrier, more desperate. Earth is forbidden. You are breaking the law of the stars. This is your last chance. Surrender your guardians, or be erased. The voice was no longer cold. It was furious. For the first time, Earth realized something shocking. The aliens were not confident. They were afraid. If Earth had more than one supercarrier, what else might it have hidden? What other secrets had been buried in ice, or stone, or water, waiting for the right moment? Humanity awakens on Earth. Something remarkable began to happen. For the first time in centuries, nations spoke not only of conflict, but of unity. Ordinary people demanded it. Protests turned into marches of solidarity. Strangers held hands in public squares, chanting, "Guardians of Earth! Guardians of Earth!" Fear was still strong, but hope had begun to rise alongside it. Humanity was no longer staring at the sky in helpless terror. It was beginning to believe. The oceans stir, and then, one night, the world saw it. In the middle of the Pacific, cameras caught the ocean boiling. Water exploded upward as waves taller than buildings crashed outward. A massive shape rose from the depths, dripping with salt and fire. At first, people thought it was a mountain rising from the sea, but as the water fell away, the truth emerged. Towers of metal, glowing panels, hangars the size of cities. Another supercarrier. It was larger than the first, older. Its surface was scarred, as if it had fought battles long before humans ever walked the earth. The world gasped. The second guardian had awakened, the cliffhanger, but as the ship broke the surface, a terrible silence followed. Unlike the first carrier, this one gave no signal of welcome. Its panels glowed blood red, its engines roared like thunder, and its weapons began to stir. On the orbital carrier, alarms blared. Commander Arya stared at the rising giant, her face pale. "It's not responding. It's not answering our codes." Dr. Harlan whispered the words everyone feared. "What if it doesn't see us as allies?" The second carrier turned, its weapons locking not on the aliens above, but on Earth itself. Billions screamed as the broadcast went dark. The first guardian in orbit lit up its shields, preparing for battle, not against aliens, but against its own twin. Humanity's savior had just become its greatest threat, and the true war was only beginning.